Thank you for joining me. Everybody who knows me knows that I like drones. I've got big ones, I've got little ones. You can see some of my little indoor flyers here. So right now this is the go-to gift for me, for anybody that knows me. So I'm happy to say I did receive a new one as a gift. And because this one is different than the ones that I already have, I thought I would share it with you. So what we have today is the FDJ mini series. Pretty dark box with a kind of a glossy logo on it, but otherwise not a whole lot of information here. We got a little bit on the box, including some barcodes that you can scan in with a barcode reader, and it will take you to 360 app for Android, the app for iOS, or the Google Play, I misspelled Play, app for Android for the Wi-Fi part of this. Couple of little directions here, but nothing real in depth. So let's go ahead and open this up and see what we have inside. I'll exactly make this easiest to open. Almost there. There we go. And this is what we see inside. So we have a little drone here. It's got folding arms on it, so it compacts down a little bit. And it has a high-def camera on it. So let's get it out and take a closer look. Get this out of our way. Get this out without breaking the propeller. Let's see. Looks like we have a battery installed in here. Here's a little antenna sticking out of the bottom for the Wi-Fi. We got little rubber nubs here on the bottom of the motor pods. That's going to be our landing gear. And we have, here's a charging port. And there is the camera. Oh no. Oh, there we go. So we just snap these out. And now it's in its unfolded and flying configuration. So, interesting looking little quad. At least from the top, it's hard to tell what's the front and what's the back. No real distinction there. So when it's flying, the camera is going to be our distinction. And I'm not sure if this actually has any LED lights on it to indicate front and back when it's flying. I'm not seeing anything that would be an obvious LED. But we'll figure that out when we get it up in the air. Let's see what else we have in the box. I'm going to take this foam insert out so I can get to what's underneath it. Alright, here's the controller. So it looks like we have two buttons here on the top. You get your normal throttle. Unlike the controllers for the others, this goes with that blue one in the back, this throttle does not return to center, because those little drones do not have altitude hold. But because this one is popping back to center, that's leading me to believe that this one actually has altitude control on it. So when you're flying and you let go of the throttle, it should hold where it is, not go up and down too much. And then this looks like our trim buttons. So trim for throttle up and down. They might do something else, we'll see. This is for the yaw, which is the rotation. Over here we have the forward and backwards, so this will be the going this way and that way, and then left and right is fairly standard. mode 2 controller. And we have our power switch, and that's about it for the controller. See how many batteries we're going to need for this. We're going to need 3, looks like AAAs. So I will have to get some AAA batteries when I charge this battery as well. So underneath the controller we have a little instruction guide. Not really a book, it's more of a pamphlet form. So I'll read through this before we take our first flight, just to make sure I note anything that's different for this between the other indoor quads that I'm used to flying. So we'll move that to the side here. Let's see what else we have. We got this little cardboard cover. Take that out. This is okay, so this is going to snap onto the controller, and then this is going to snap into that, and this is what's going to hold the phone to receive the Wi-Fi signal, so that we can actually do a live view of the video stream coming off the camera. That's going to be interesting because I have never flown an indoor quad with a camera before. So that is definitely going to be my smallest camera drone so far. And then inside this accessory bag we have some spare propellers. I don't want to get all tangled up and everything. We have battery charger, so USB on this end, and wow, really super tiny connector. Can't even get the camera to focus on that. Okay. Comes with a screwdriver. Always handy, especially when you're dealing with some of these really super tiny screws, because not everybody has one of these around. You do start to accumulate them when you have a bunch of quads, but for the first couple they're really nice to have. Okay, so we have 4 spare blades, and then we have this tool. This tool is usually like a propeller prior, so you fit it in here and pop the propellers off. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it's for on this particular quadcopter. It seems to be that case. It looks like that, but I'll look at this in the manual and make sure. Definitely don't want to break anything or damage anything. And that is almost everything in the box. And we have a set screw. So my guess is the set screw I thought it would have gone on here. I'm not sure where that goes at the moment. If we look at the controller, I'm definitely going to have to look at the manual for this one. Figure out. Oh, no, there we go. Okay. So we're going to take this little screw out. We're going to pop this on, and then that screw is going to go back in, and that's what's going to secure this on top of the controller here. And then once that is secured, and this will pop into it. It's got a little locking clip here at the end. And then our phone will go in here for the live video stream. And I'm still not quite sure what this goes to. We'll figure that out when I read the manual. So that is the overview of the FDJ mini series. So I'm going to read the manual. I'm going to get some batteries for the controller. I'm going to get the cell phone holder attached to the controller using the screw and everything. We'll charge the battery in the drone, and then we will come back and we'll do our first flight. And we'll see a bird's eye view of what this little guy sees. Should be interesting. Alright, there's a few things I wanted to go over before we actually take the first flight. First one is this connector to charge the quadcopter. So with the quadcopter, we have this little port here on the side, and this connector goes in, but because of this little overhang here, it has to go in at a little bit of an angle. And I thought that was enough to put it in there, but this end was not lighting up, indicating it was not charging. You actually have to really push this in there until it clicks. It almost feels like you're going to break it to get it in there enough to where the light comes on to charge it. So that was a little disconcerting to me. Finally got it charged and up, and so we're about ready to get this up in the air. The other thing is it does have LED lights. If I were to flip this on real quick, you'll see the lights blinking. So it does have the lights, but they are not exposed, so you're only going to be able to see them if you are underneath the quad. If this was a bigger one that you were flying outdoors, not a big deal. Because this is a smaller indoor one and has a camera, you're more often going to be using it around, selfie height, to take videos and pictures of you or other people around you. And at this height, you are not going to see those LEDs. So it's going to be easy to lose orientation of this unless you can see the underneath of it. So then I did find where that little set screw went, and it actually goes right here. It is what allows you to set the angle of the phone and the controller and actually lock that angle in. There's another set screw back here, so that once you get the phone in and you get it snug down, you tighten this and it won't loosen. And that way, your phone doesn't fall out of the holder. But then that brings me up to the other issue. That is, as you can see, I've got a pretty big phone. And this is a small controller because it's a small drone. So holding this and flying while trying to counterbalance that weight of the phone that keeps wanting to go down that way is a little tough. I would have preferred to see these be a little bit more bigger, so I'd have a little bit more of a hand grip on them and a little bit more control over this weight here. So it is going to make controlling this with the phone difficult, and the review is going to reflect that. Okay, so let me get a couple more things set up and we'll be ready to take the first flight. After reading the manual, which is incorrect by the way, and doing some playing around, I finally figured out how to get this armed. So the calibration is both sticks to the lower outside corners. That'll do the calibration. To unlock it, it is both sticks to the lower left. The manual says the lower right. So now we should be able to get this to take off. So let me put the camera up, pick this up, and let's try it. So first we're going to go ahead and start the video again. We are going to calibrated. You can see by the blinking lights that it's calibrating, and now we're going to unlock. So we have it at low speed. Now we're going to do an automatic takeoff. Okay, pressing this button here is supposed to be the automatic shutoff, emergency shutdown. And the first time I did that, it didn't take it. But it also did not appear to be very well calibrated because it was drifting all over the place. We're going to do a calibration again. And then let's try this once more. Automatic takeoff. We've got a lot of drift to it. Even with calibration and trying to trim it, I would have expected it to be a little bit more. So right now, I have it facing towards me, so the controls are backwards. Because we've crashed again. Sophie. Because we have crashed again, we need to recalibrate it once more. So let me put it up here. I think it's a little bit more level up here. I'll redo the calibration. And unlock it. Shut down. My daughter and her string. Alright, I'm gonna have to work on untangling this. I'll be back. Alright, so I'm back. I've taken the phone off, so I don't have to deal with the weight. Don't have to deal with the issues of the controllers. I'm just going to focus on getting this thing to fly reasonably straight. So we're going to turn it on again. There's the switch. We're going to turn this on. We're going to bind it. Calibrate it. Now we're going to unlock it. and take off. Again, it still wants to do a lot of it's gotten into reasonable hover. The beeps you hear are me trying to trim this out so it stays somewhat stable. Again, being underneath of it is the only way you're going to see these LED lights on it. Because when I bring it back down to eye level, you can see a little bit there through the sides, but I guess you can see enough. At least on the back side of it. And we are blinking, which means that our battery is low. So we're going to do the one-touch land and shut down. Picking this up, this is quite warm. I don't know if it's from getting tangled up earlier or if it's just the way that this quad is, but it is fairly warm up here on top. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off because the battery is low. As you can see here on the bottom, this plate is held in with 4 screws. So this battery is not intended to be removed to be recharged. So you recharge it through the port on the side. Let me turn the controller off here. So because this is quite warm, I'm going to need to let it cool off completely before we charge this battery. Once I charge the battery again, I'm going to have to let it again cool off before I take flight, because heat is the enemy of these lithium-ion type batteries. So it's probably going to be about a 1 flight a day quadcopter. Especially if you're doing this in the late afternoon or whatever, because by the time this fully cools off, it takes an hour or so to charge that battery. It's going to be hard to get multiple flights a day out of it unless you start early. But we definitely don't want to damage it. So that's the first flight video of it. Hopefully I'll be able to get some of the video segments that we shot during that first part before I got tangled up in that yarn up there. And we'll see what kind of quality and stuff we get out of the camera. So I will throw all these pieces of the videos together and get this posted for you guys to enjoy. I appreciate you watching, and if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Thank you. Alright, so from my first flight video, you saw that I had a few problems with it drifting and it moving around and things like that. So I went back to the manual, read it a little bit more closely. Some of the issues I experienced were my own fault from misunderstanding or misinterpreting the manual. Part of it was the manual's fault for having incorrect instructions. So I thought I should go over all of the controls on the controller and then get ready for another flight and see how many of the problems I've gone away. So first we're going to look at this button right here on the shoulder. So a short push of this button takes a picture, a long push of it starts a video. So we're going to test that once we have this synced up again with the Wi-Fi app to see if it actually does it on the app. The button on the right shoulder is a single push of it, and then an input on the direction controller will cause the quadcopter to do a flip in that direction. A longer push of this button puts the quad into headless mode. Headless mode, also sometimes called CF mode, you want to start that when the front of the quad is facing in the same direction as the transmitter. Then once you go into headless mode, no matter which way the quad is turned, so even if it's facing you, if you push forward on the stick, it's going to go forward away from you. If you push back, it's going to come back towards you. Left is going to always be left, right is always going to be right. Where if you're not in headless mode, the directions here are reversed. So if you push the stick to the left, the quadcopter is going to go to its left, which is your right. And for new pilots, that can sometimes be confusing. So the headless mode is there to always have it go in the direction you expect it to go in. Okay. This stick, up and down, is throttle. You return it to center, it automatically returns to center, and that is for the altitude hold feature. So it's going to hold at whatever altitude it's at when you let go of that stick. The left and the right of this control the yaw of the drone, so that is it's rotating left and right. Okay. These two buttons here are the trim buttons for the yaw. So if you find that the drone is rotating a little bit, excuse me, when you don't want it to, you use these buttons to correct that. This button is the one-touch takeoff button. So after the drone is calibrated and unlocked, you push this button, it'll do it'll take off. It'll go up to about 3 feet or 1 meter in the air and hover there. This button is on a short press, does what they call a one-touch landing. So that'll be the lights start to flash, and it'll come down. When it senses that it has bumped the ground, then it turns off the propellers and locks itself. If you press and hold this button, it does what they call an emergency landing. The emergency landing is basically the same thing as an emergency stop, and that is it will immediately turn off all the motors, and the drone is just going to fall out of the sky. So make sure you have it over something soft, or use it as a option of last resort if you start to get into trouble with where the drone's going. This stick here, left and right, is left and right for the drone. Forward and backwards is also forward and backwards. Keep in mind, if you're not in headless mode, it will be reversed or different depending on if it's facing you or sideways to you, things like that. These two buttons here, control the trimming of it going forward and backwards. So if it's drifting forward a little bit, you can push back, and that will counterbalance it somewhat. Same thing for the left and right. If you find that it's drifting a little to the left, you can do some right trim into it. If it's drifting a little too far to the right, you can put some left trim into it. Now, these trim buttons will control major drift. With a quad this small and these propellers so close together, you're not going to be able to totally trim out and get it to hover exactly steady. Bigger quads, farther apart, more range on what the motors can handle, yes, you might be able to get those into a stable hover, but I do not expect something this small to be stable. I expect it to go up to a height and stay there because of the altitude control, but a little bit of drifting is to be expected. So that I would not consider to be a fault of the quadcopter. Now, if it takes off and suddenly goes zooming off to the right, either that's an issue with the quadcopter or an issue with it not being calibrated. Now, one of the things the manual did say is after any crash or hard bumps to recalibrate. And that was one of the mistakes I made during the first flight video, was not recalibrating after a crash. The other mistake I was doing was not doing the emergency stop properly. So the emergency stop is press and hold this button, or you can also take both of these sticks and go to the lower right. That'll be an emergency stop. To unlock the quad, both of these sticks go to the lower left. The manual is incorrect in this situation, where the manual says to take both sticks to the outside corner. This is the calibration configuration. So both sticks to the outside calibrates the quad. And then, so in the manual when they talk about calibrating and then unlocking the quad, they tell you do that to calibrate it, do that again to unlock it. That's not correct. So you're going to do this to calibrate it, then you're going to do this to unlock it. And then once it's unlocked, you can either take off by giving it throttle, or you can do the one-touch takeoff. Okay? So we're going to get this all set up, and we're going to do another flight, and we're going to test the one-touch takeoff, the one-touch landing, and we're also going to do an emergency landing with it fairly low so we don't damage it, to show you exactly what that does. Alright, so we'll be back in a bit. Okay, and we're back. So I've turned the quad on, I've synchronized my phone to the Wi-Fi that the quad is sending out, I've started the app, and I bound the transmitter to the quad. So now we're going to do a calibration. So it's both sticks to the outside corner. You'll see it blink, and the controller also blinks. I am also, for now, going to put it into headless mode. So we're going to press and hold. That very slow blink shows me that we are in headless mode. So now we are going to unlock it, and we're going to do a takeoff. And it is acting like my battery is dead, but I think I charged it. Okay, so that was one case where it did not take the two sticks to the lower right as an emergency shutdown. But because we had a pretty hard crash, we're going to calibrate it again. Okay, we're going to do the one-touch takeoff. No, sorry, unlock it. Take off. Take a picture. Take a video. I'm not getting any indication on the app that it's actually taking a video. So I'm going to hit the video button, and there we go, we're taking video. Like I said, I expect there to be some drift in a copter like this. So we can take some of that forward drift out, take a little bit of that left drift out, a little too much, and that's actually pretty good. Let's turn around here and see if we can do a selfie here. It did not want to take the emergency shutdown. I hit that button several times and it did not shut down. Not sure what is up with that. One thing I've noticed is we did bump in one of the arms, so we're going to have to make sure all the arms are back out. So we'll go ahead and stop that video. I hit the button and actually took it out of headless mode, so we're going to put it back in headless mode. Now we're going to have to recalibrate again after that accident. Unlock it. And take off again. That time it took the emergency shutdown. I don't know if it might have got a little out of range when it went over into the other room or not. So, calibrate it again. And after every crash, calibrate it. So one touch takeoff. Shut down. Calibrate it. Start it up. And we've crashed again. Oh. So we're going to calibrate it. Try this one more time. Take off. I wonder if my battery's getting low. Let's take it out of. Calibrate it. Unlock it. Yep, battery's low. Alrighty. So, in conclusion, this flies about like I would expect a indoor flyer to fly. It does have the benefit of the altitude hold, so it's not doing the yo-yoing that I get with the other little quads that I have. I kind of showed you at the very beginning of this. But it does suffer from the same peculiarities as the other ones, in which it does get a little hard to control, and that's mainly because these propellers are so close to each other. And that seems to be common against all of the little indoor quads that I have. They just kind of want to drift all over the place, even though there's not much air movement in here. So that's pretty typical. I would give this one probably a 4 or so rating out of 5, just because of the inaccuracies in the manual and in the diagrams of the manuals being misleading or misplaced. I'm one that tends to like to go by the pictures, especially for a translated manual, and it would have one picture here with a piece of text, but that picture actually applied to a piece of text. It was 3 or 4 sentences up on the page. So the layout could have been a little bit better. But also the fact that it says do this to unlock when you need to do this to unlock. So it's just the manual is what loses 1 star on this device. Other than that, I mean, I think it's a lot of fun to fly. It's neat to have the Wi-Fi, it's neat to have the little camera and kind of get the indoor perspective. I'll throw in a little video clip of what I just shot while I was flying and show you the resolution and the video quality you get out of it. But for a tiny little indoor flyer, this is doing pretty good. One other thing I should note is in an earlier segment I mentioned about how warm this got. A large part of that was due to me not knowing the emergency shutdown and it continuing to run when the propellers were down and the motors couldn't turn. So even now I've noticed it's a little warm. But on other batteries that I've flown, in between video segments, when I was learning more of the controls of this particular quad, I did not get into a situation where the propellers got bound. And I noticed that this was much cooler at the end of the flight. So some of that heat is the electronic speed controllers heating up when the propellers are stalled. So some of that heat is from user error. You know, not doing the shutdown, or the quad not taking the shutdown because maybe it got out of range. So the heat is not as much of a concern as I originally made it out to be. It is still a little warm. You definitely want to make sure that this battery is cool before you recharge it, because it is within this cage and you can't really pull it out easily. But the heat that I felt on top in that first segment was mostly user error. So there you go. That is my review of the FDJ Mini Series indoor foldable quad with Wi-Fi FPV capabilities. And that is what it looks like when it is all folded up. I guess it makes it a little easier to throw into a pocket or something. They did not include a storage box or protection box, so I'm not really sure the benefits of the folding arms, but it does make it unique. It does protect them a little bit because it does make it more compact, and the propellers are a little bit more in line with the body, not just kind of hanging out there. So there are some advantages to folding it, but I still wouldn't want to put it in my pocket. So there you go. Hope you enjoy the video. If you have any questions, comments, or if I left you totally confused, feel free to comment and I'll get back to you. And if you like the video, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.